Hello everybody, this is Simon with Let's Play Sonic 2006. Today's level is a bit of a doozy. The very first time I played this game casually, I was not actually able to continue the game because I didn't figure out how to beat this damn thing. And this is due to the fact that there is one mandatory sequence which you have to do at the end of the level, which is not super easy to figure out, and I will be sure to point it out. However, before the end sequence, this level is extremely open, and which is why we are going to look at 3 distinct playthroughs here. This is why the video is so long. The level itself is not actually that long if you know what you're doing. With the first one being kind of the equivalent of the lowest path in a 2D Sonic level, aka the very, very slow one where we do not take the obvious shortcuts, so we do not take the highest platforms and so on. For example, if you jump off the log here with the correct time, you can absolutely reach this high platform, and I suspect that many people do this. However, this bottom path is what we're going to look at first. You can pick up these rocks, which is quite nice because they serve as ammunition for Silver, and it's finally something a bit better than just respawning cubes and boxes. I do not quite get this laser wall. It makes no sense to me. I thought that maybe I had missed an enemy here or something, but no, you turn around and the laser wall just vanishes, and then I keep going and the laser wall just shows up again. And it's just like one of these in Aquatic Base, which are just very, very slowly timed, and I don't quite get it. But I never claimed that this game was perfect, right? Just more enjoyable than people think. Like this turtle ride is kind of relaxed. I do like that they give you some natural looking ammunition, which is not just boxes all the time, as I said, which you can use to shoot at the next enemies. The enemies themselves also give you some ammunition sometimes, and especially if it's missiles like the small ones here, Silver's actually quite good at aiming them. This might be because they do not have many physics to interact with other surfaces. So like here, for example, I don't quite know what happened, but the missiles usually have a very good way of targeting enemies, and they do not get stuck on each other, which is a plus. No, the melee attack is still too small of an AoE to hit these enemies, don't even think about it. And another typical auto-scroller feature where you have to jump over a platform while your platform moves, your normal means of transport moves underneath you. You can use this bulb to get up on the platform, but this is exactly the same one which I could have reached at the very, very start. As you can see, this is the log we traversed at the very start of the level, which means that I would have wasted 2 minutes just trying to go up there. So I don't quite get why it's there, but I digress. As I said, I'm going to take the very slow, casual turtle path, and this time compared to Sonic's Tropical Jungle, which is completely different, by the way, in case you haven't noticed it. It's still called Tropical Jungle, but this has nothing to do with Sonic's Tropical Jungle, except that this time the fruit does actually summon a turtle, and I don't quite know how it would have worked in Sonic's level, where the turtle is already there and it's not moving. I suspect they just copy-pasted some code and called it a day, just to have a turtle there, but it doesn't really do much. Anyway, stopping time for the turtle here, and I don't quite know why these blocks are here, because it seems like you would use them to open the way, but no, you have to use this log, as Silver helpfully points out. Which is nice, isn't it? Yes, wonderful. So we can proceed now despite the laser wall stopping the turtle. I guess it just turns around at some point. And here we can continue with our next turtle. So again, this is a gimmick of the level which works fine, and which is a surprise, I know. It's after all, it's Sonic 2006. And it is also something which I suspect many players are not even aware of. I wasn't when I first played this game in a more exploratory sense, trying to get all the silver medals and stuff, because I mean there are no silver medals down here so far. At the very least there's going to be one which you can only reach with a turtle ride, and otherwise the turtle segment is basically entirely optional and slow, and it had a lot of effort put into it, but it's not something many players will ever see. So be glad that I'm showing it off. It's a comprehensive Let's Play after all. I'm not getting the invincibility underneath the weirdly respawning slab because there is a silver medal on there, and I'm not collecting silver medals this time around. Also, it would be pointless because I don't get hit on the turtles, because, you know, you just slowly move along here and the enemies cannot hit you, really. Their targeting is about as good as Silver's, which is to say not very good. This bulb doesn't quite work. I don't know why, because many bulbs in this level work just fine, but I have extreme trouble latching onto it, so that's cool. I'm not gonna take it. This is the one silver medal where you need the turtle for, by the way. We're going to see it later, as I said. And we are back to what I would call the main path of the level, because this is where a lot of the stuff converges. And Silver was right, by the way. If you hold down the trigger longer, then you jump up higher, which is something I hadn't quite figured out at this point. Yes, you actually have to charge it for quite a while, contrary to other such symbols where you just barely have to tap it. Anyway, he wishes he could go up. In fact, this is what you need to do. It is absolutely mandatory to go up here and continue the level. But I'm not going to do this for now, because I'm not done showing off all of the lowest parts of the level. Anyway, this is where you respawn, looking at something which might seem like you can't progress further if you haven't figured out all of Silver's abilities, and this is the major stopping point where I really was having trouble continuing the level when I was just playing this the first time, as I said. But what's back here? 2 robots, which I'm going to ignore for a second, and another path, which I could have taken from the other checkpoint here. And this is where the largely non-linear nature of the level is being a bit of a problem, because you might not realize that you're going backwards at this point, and you might think that this is the way to go to progress further in the level if you couldn't figure out how exactly Silver wants to go up. But no, actually, this is completely optional. This is just for a 1-up, and if you look here, this is a checkpoint we have already touched. We are back to this part of the route. But just to orient us further, if we go up here, then we can in fact go up and reach the part where Silver wanted to go up. So that's nice. So you would think that this is what you have to do. But then you might still be stuck, because there is one more feature where you have to actually jump to. But I digress. Again, we're going to see this at the end. First of all, I still haven't finished setting up, showing up all of the platforms, showing off all of the platforms on the lower path, and another turtle in the distance, as you can see. And I will show off something here. You can absolutely reach this by normally hovering. I think the staggered hover, which I sometimes do if I'm unsure if I can make it, is not something entirely intended by the developers, but if you can make it just by normally hovering, then I do think that it is. I don't know about these platforms back there. I don't know why you would ever go there, or if there is a point to them. I'm not showing off every single platform in this level. This would take a little bit too long. But I'm going to show off this route. You can come onto this log from this end after the turtle ride, and this is the other natural end of the turtle riding sequence. So there was a bit of a branch beforehand. And this knocks down this ball, and rather say it knocks the ball up somewhere, right? Ah, there it is. And obviously it's meant to destroy the enemies here, which would be bad because it will cost you points, because if an environmental object destroys an enemy, as we remember from Crisis City, then you do not get awarded any points, but never works. It's one of these set pieces in Silver's story which look awesome in concept, like wow, you throw down this giant stone ball and it bowls over the robots, amazing, but it just never works, never ever got me to work. And there is another ball later on in the level for which the same is true. That's a bit of a shame, but you know, it saves me trying to deliberately misaim the ball so I don't miss out on points. Anyway, let's get back to here. As I said, all of the paths converge here. And you have to go up here. You can do it like this. This is something I did not know when I first played the game, because so far it was optional and you only had to use it for silver medals. But now it seems like it's mandatory. However, it's actually not mandatory. This jump here, going to this bulb, this is the one that stumped me when I was playing this few years ago. You can absolutely do this jump without hovering onto the plate. You don't need it. Silver is very good at jumping, but it's deceptive in my opinion at the very least. I mean, maybe I was just being stupid, but I think I've seen a few Let's Plays where people struggle with this level because they don't realize that they have to go here. This is absolutely mandatory. There is no way around it. You have to finish the level up here, unless you're speedrunning and glitching everywhere, of course. But there is no way to get high enough up to this platform. You have to get high enough to this log, and then get even further to the platform which you can see in the distance. And to the best of my knowledge, there is no way to hover down there from another part of the level. And so that's why it's so confusing, because so far you could do any route basically, but every route will converge here, and yeah, then you have to kill these enemies in a little bit of a mandatory combat segment. There, the missiles you picked up impact on the big boy you picked up, and it's a bit of a mess, but you know, it's fine, it's our mess. This is why I use the single layered extreme, where I shoot all of the missiles away from me at the same time by holding the button, which is great because it saves me time, and if I had just dropped them, they would have exploded in my face, and I don't want that. As you can see, I did fine, just like playing the level normally, getting a few points of robots, not dawdling too much, but if you take the lower part, you will not get an S rank, not even close. You need a good time bonus, and you need some rings, and you need some enemies, and this is basically the same story as it is in Sonic's Tropical Jungle, interestingly enough, which is also one of the levels that most focuses on exploration in his level. So generally, what we can learn from this is that this is actually quite cool as a concept, because you can take any route whatsoever you want. Even if you are staying on the bottom route, there is a lot of possibilities for you to take. However, because this game is just, you know, generally a bit broken, you sometimes would expect that, oh yeah, this path I'm just taking, this is not intended, or where do I actually have to go? This makes no sense. This level is surprisingly well structured if you give it a chance, but there is no reason to give it a chance, because, you know, we're in Sonic 2006 and this is a bit of an issue. Anyway, this is how you get up here. This is also something which took me quite a bit to figure out. The logs are actually timing challenge. If you press the jump button at the very tip of their what's it called, arc? Yes. Then you fly higher, and this is not something that is ever communicated. If you just jump whenever, then it will physics out from under you and often kill you, and this is also something where like distrust of the level sets in. But if you just accept its challenges and where it puts you basically after jumps like this one here, for example, this is perfectly doable in normal hover, so in my opinion it's intended. Then you can reach the highest platforms and find all of the silver medals and carve out a very nice route, like your own personal best route to take, and the level is a lot of fun. But you have to kind of reach that point of trusting the game, and I fully realize that this is a bit of a tall order for many a casual player, including myself, for example, because, you know, stuff like this happens all the time where it just doesn't quite work out. I don't quite know how to break down this wall. It seems like you would want to use the boxes beforehand and so on, but you need something with a bit of a higher impact, like one of the logs, of course, and it just never opens, but it doesn't really matter because you can just hover around, and I don't know if that was intended, but well, you know, it's always a bit hard to tell. It definitely seems like you would be able to knock it down and then get this checkpoint, and the silver medal on the side is basically just if you realize, aha, you can hover over there, big brain, but you have to hover over there just playing the game normally. It's a bit weird. Anyway, platforming on high platforms, just looking for the paths up here and staying on them is also its own kind of fun, in my opinion, if you start out high enough, because as I said, it's not that easy. This, however, is not intended. I'm staggering, I am going here easier than, I'm going further than I should be able to. But I think what you are intended to do is take the bulb and then jump up onto this platform, and then you turn around and then you go to the square platform up there. But whatever, I did it like that because it was more convenient. I jumped down too early here, realized that at this moment that I'm jumping too early and I have to take an extra turtle basically. So I'm back to the turtle route, but don't worry, we'll be back up soon enough. But at some point you just have to go down a little bit to reach the next silver medal. So I'm looking around here on these platforms, but that's okay. There is nothing much to be gained from that, because you have to take the turtle route. At this point you're a bit committed. So again, if I had stayed up on the square up there, whoops, will the turtle now go down? I don't know, but fortunately you can save yourself by hovering, because we're still playing as silver. Anyway, you want to go down here, of course. You can do that from the square up there, as I said. and get the invincibility and the silver medal that was hidden underneath it. Just trust me or listen for the audio cue. And now we can go here and be safe because we are invincible. Kill this guy who is actually the leader enemy for these two, and they die after their leader vanishes off screen at some point. So, 5 silver medals done, and as we have seen, we have to take the turtle route for the 6th one, so this is a bit of a repeat, but bear with me. I deliberately chose to not cut too much because the level is confusing enough as it is. And yes, you can use the fruit to throw at things, but somehow I didn't want to stay hovering here, but it is a physics object, you can pick it up, that's fun, isn't it? This time I deliberately tried to avoid the bulb. Don't know, maybe if you are closer to it you latch on automatically, but that's for even more scientifically minded people than me to find out. And we're at this end of the turtle route. So again, oriented we are, and you can definitely just hover over it, completely bypassing the lotus pad, which is nice, isn't it? But we have to go to the other side because there was a silver medal which we picked up last time, couldn't avoid that while showing off that thing on the log. And there is going to be another one hidden here as well. This time we are actually going to engage the robots for a productive way. They have long shot their arms, so they are vulnerable to an instant pickup after being stunned. However, while falling over, they still have an active hitbox, so that's why I got hit there. It's always a little bit annoying when that happens, because, you know, it really shouldn't happen, but it's just the way it is. Taking the box express here to go basically backwards to here, because of course you're supposed to take this log to the other direction. Again, something where I can trust the level to point the camera towards where you actually have to go. A bit confused here because I wanted to go in another direction from here, but the camera is really taking a death grip on you, so whatever, I'm not going to skip ahead, which you can absolutely do if you're a pro, but I'm not, I'm just casual, I'm just an idiot who plays this game far too much. But we will go back to the mandatory end section here, and this is also something where I haven't fully explored yet, so stay tuned for new content in a second. And I'm using the platform again because it is slightly easier, but again, trust me, you can't just jump up here, it's absolutely no problem, because Silver's jumping is so much higher than you would think it is. Something underneath here, another trap, which supplies me with the means to take it out constantly. Yeah, I really don't know why these things respawn, it makes no sense, doesn't it? Also, I think it's a bit rude that they have a sleeping robot underneath there, but, you know, trains you to be careful or something? I don't know, it's a different thing. Because here, for example, what do we have under here? It's a 1-up, awesome, so that's great. Most of those are worth opening, but the one with the robot, there's 2 of them, of course, a silver medal and a robot without anything. I guess they just wanted to have some variety here, but I don't begrudge it. I mean, the level is varied enough, but that's fine. Here is the 9th silver medal, and the 10th one is a little bit dumb, but we're going to see it in a second once I actually manage to land one of these cursed boxes on the enemy. Thank you. Give me some ammo, please. I keep holding down the trigger so that I don't get hit by the missiles. Shot one too much. I really want to get rid of this guy, because as you're going to see in a second... Woo, another missile, thank you very much. As you can see, the targeting works quite well with those. We have to hover out here. It's really hard to see this one, and it's actually really hard to not die here. I actually did this in a test recording, which made me sad, because otherwise it worked quite well. Anyway, let's start the mandatory ending sequence of the level. Always have to do this, and again, you can probably just skip ahead a little bit, but I don't quite trust the ability to hover off the log here well. The robot actually instantly died because I hit back his own projectiles at him. This is the same mechanic as with the lava giants. If you hit them with their own projectiles, after they have made themselves vulnerable, then their entire health bar of 4 hits is gone in 1 hit. So that's nice, isn't it? And again, I was a little bit too tardy and dawdled too much, so again the time bonus is not quite high enough, even with the lots of score I got from the robots, to give me an S rank. So you know what this means. We're going to have an S rank video later on. But first, we're going to look at a cutscene, by which I mean you're going to look at the cutscene if you want, and I will catch you afterwards.
So, This is the past. I hope Silver is okay. He's pretty insecure when he's alone. The Iblis trigger. Blue hedgehog.
Awkward pause at the very end. As usual, just a little reminder, if you like my videos, consider liking them back and maybe subscribing and commenting. Thank you very much. Alright, for the S rank run, what do we have to do? Well, we've already seen that the time bonus was suspiciously low. Let me just fix this real quick. So maybe take the fastest route this time and no turtling. Yeah, probably not a good idea for a fast run. But it will not help you to just speedrun the level. You will have to pick up a few points here and there and ideally not get hit to keep all of your rings. It's fortunately not that hard to do a non-hit run of this level, despite Silver's penchant for getting hit by the weirdest things, because the game just doesn't quite work sometimes, you know. But generally you can do it, and you probably should consider it, because it will give you a lot of buffer where you can take a little bit more of your time while traversing through the level. I take a route here that takes me by a lot of the big robots, not all of them, because it takes time sometimes to go to their respective platforms and also to seek them out and kill them in the first place anyway. Again, throwing back their projectiles is an instant kill. I hesitated a little bit because I didn't know if he was also going to throw his second arm, and that would have gotten me hit, of course, because right after you shoot something, you can't immediately re-grab enemies' projectiles. And as I said, I want to make sure that I don't get hit here. This is probably how you reach these platforms down there and shortcut a little bit off to the side here, but I want to stay to the left side of the level, roughly from the starting second starting platform, because there is of course this giant group of enemies here which are basically 3 points, and this is the way to go if you are skipping out on the second turtle ride, the thing I did wrong in the medal run before. This also gives you 200 extra points for the level, for the 1-up, of course, and we can continue on this path on this side here, which will give us a shortcut to the ending platform here. So that's nice. And we do have the robot down there, and it takes forever to kill it, but is it worth it? Probably, if you get some help by the projectiles here. And here is proof that yes, you can absolutely do this with a normal jump. You can continue jumping immediately, and you can get another 200 points here. But oops, just noticed that my bar was empty. If I had started the hover there, I would have been dunked in the drink and be very unhappy. This is always something you have to look out for when you're playing as Silver. Your bar is not infinite. You might have been used to something different as Sonic, but nope, you have to be really careful, waste a little bit of time running around so that you can actually make the trip back. And yes, I did this just for the rings. Keep in mind, every single ring you bring to the end is worth 110 points just from picking it up, plus 100 ring bonus at the end. And there are not that many rings in this level, so every single one counts. Like this trail here, for example, is going to be very, very worthwhile. And as we're going to see at the very end, where I'm going to just show you a sped up run which barely went under, it is not trivial to get an S rank here. For some Sonic levels especially, you practically get it gifted, but here not so much. It's actually quite challenging for many Silver levels to get an S rank, and I don't hate this. It's fine, you know. The question is just, when does the challenge basically become feeling insurmountable or frustrating because you get hit at the very end due to something which you really could not control, or if the level kills you at some point and erases all of your enemy score. But anyway, I made it with just enough rings and just enough kills. No, not just enough, there is a bit of a buffer, but you know what I'm getting at. There is enough points here for me to get the S rank as well, and we got everything sorted out, and that's all very nice and fine. And just as a final statement, I really like this level. Now that I get it, now that I know how to play as Silver, it's great fun to explore it, and I hope I could convey that and maybe serve as a little bit of a guide for people who are actually struggling, as I did. I will leave you with the failed S-rank run as a proof, as I said, and thank you at this point very much for your attention.
Looks like I'm on a roll.